So if you interpret bright as meaning just the inventor of the wheel, then that's flexible. But if you hear it the way I was hearing it as the actual inventor of the wheel, then that's rigid. So then if you hear it the way I was hearing it, and you say bright is the inventor of the wheel, then that's a priori, but it's not necessary. So there you go, we just blew up the idea that a priori truths are all necessary. The nice thing about this example is it seems to clear to everyone, so it's clear what's going on. Yeah. Oh, this is the rigid use. So if you take the rigid use here, then this is rigid, this is flexible. So different possible worlds, this is picking out something different. This is all picking out the same thing. Yeah. So if I say, well, bright could have been hit by an asteroid, then bright wouldn't have invented the wheel. Yeah, so I'm hearing it as rigid, and then it's not necessary that bright invented the wheel, because he could have been prevented. She could have been prevented. But it is a priori, because if anyone invented the wheel, it would be bright. Yeah. That's right. That's a priori, right? But not necessary. The actual inventor of the wheel is the inventor of the wheel. Very good. Yeah. Okay. So the thing this brings out is when you get something that is a sign having its reference fixed by description, then it really could be rigid or flexible. That was really the model of the discussion last time. I was saying I hear it when it's a name is always being rigid. You guys are saying no, but it could be flexible. And that's right. And that's where somebody mentioned intention. Right? You get a choice. If you're hooking up the name to the reference by means of a description, you get a choice as to whether it's rigid or flexible. That's all right? Okay. But then think about, the whole point of a lot of discussion is this is really an untypical case. Usually the connect between a name and an object is set up by a causal chain. And if it's a causal chain that's setting up the name-object connection, there's no role being specified that something different could be meeting in different possible worlds. If it's just a causal connection setting up the connect between the name and the object, then it looks like that has to be rigid. You couldn't keep the meaning of the name constant but vary the object. What would it mean to keep the causal connection constant but vary the object? It's a bit like if you imagine having a telephone conversation with someone. You can say, well, I might not have had that conversation with that person. So there's you and the other person and this causal connection between you down the telephone line. But it hardly makes sense to say I could have been having that very same conversation but a different person there. A causal connection, if it's going to be the same causal connection, there's going to be the same things on both ends. So if it's a causal connection between the object and the sign, that's making it true that the sign refers to the object, then you couldn't keep constant the meaning of the sign, but vary the object. So that case of descriptive names is very unusual. Usually it's a causal connection that's fixing the reference to the sign, and then the designator has always got to be rigid. The name has to be a rigid designator. Yes? N is the number of cows in the field. Yes, that's right. APO 11 necessary. Yeah. Yes. Almost. When you say, I can't remember who was N, it's N is the number of cows in the field, right? Then N is not there being used as a variable. I see why you say it's a variable, but it isn't really being used as a variable. I remember if you're doing this in a maths class, probably not very hard maths class, but if you're not there using it, you're there using it as a sign for a particular number, and the task that you'd be set is find out what that number is. So its reference really has been fixed by this when you say N is the number of cows in the field. Yeah. So it's standing for a definite number of cows. It's just unknown, that's right, and you've got to find it out. That's right, there could be a different number of cows in the field, yeah. But it's still a priori that N is the number of cows in the field. And anyone says, but maybe you're wrong, maybe it's not N. That's just, you're making a joke if you say that, yeah. Well, really. Okay, yeah. Yeah, right, but this is the subtle thing with where it actually comes in. I realize I'm doing the same thing again. I'm assuming that once you have a name here, yeah, this is the number of cows that are actually in the field, yeah. You're not assuming that it varies depending on how many cows there are. You can speculate had N not been the number of cows in the field. Yeah, had there been more cows in the field. That makes perfect sense, it seems to me. Yeah. But as with the Strangler, you can read it as a name, you could read it, I think, as implying a role. But I do actually think it's a very, it's a kind of unnatural reading. If you don't mind me saying so. As with the Strangler, I'll be your strangler tonight, you can make sense of that way of talking. Yeah, but it's a little bit weird. Yeah, Okay, well, let's see. One last bit of geeking out on rigid designation. So, what is a rigid designator? The Kripke's official definition is, we'll call something a rigid designator if, in every possible world, it designates the same object. And of course, the same things can have different names in other possible worlds, like came up earlier. You can make sense of saying, suppose Al Gore had not been called Al Gore. Yes, we've got the actual world, in which Al is called Al, and then we've got this other world, in which his parents decided to call him something different. Yep, that makes perfect sense. You could have had a different name. People sometimes complain about their names. If only, well, actually, I'm going to give some examples, but there may be some people listening in the class, so I wouldn't do that. You can think of your own, right? Okay, that makes perfect sense. In every possible world, it designates the same object. That's what a rigid designator is. But of course, there are going to be some possible worlds in which the object doesn't exist. People sometimes say God exists necessarily, or numbers exist necessarily, but you and I, presumably, don't exist necessarily. And if your parents had never met, you would not have existed. Yeah. So suppose you consider the possibility in which Al Gore doesn't exist. Relative to that possibility, does the name designate anything? Well, you could say it's a rigid designator if in every possible world in which the object exists. We're only going to consider the worlds in which the object exists, and relative to those worlds, the name always designates the same thing. Yeah. But what about the worlds where the object doesn't exist? Does the name designate anything relative to such a world? Well, you could say, with Hesperus and Phosphorus, you could say, in any possible world in which Hesperus exists, it refers to the same thing. In any possible world in which phosphorus exists, it's always referring to the name's always referring to the same thing. So in any possible world in which these, relative to which these two terms are designating something, the statement's necessary. I mean, it doesn't really get an evaluation with respect to a world in which Hesperus doesn't exist. I mean, if the planets had been formed in a different way, then Hesperus might never have come into existence. Right, that makes sense. So relative to that world, is it true that Hesperus is phosphorus? In that world, is Hesperus phosphorus? Hard to say. No, right. It's a little bit strange. Yes, it's hard to know quite what to say about that case. Yeah. So you could say it's weakly necessary in the sense that it's not that it's true in every possible world, it's just that it's true in every world in which that planet exists. Yeah. It's true in every world in which Venus exists. So that'd be a little bit weaker than saying it's true in absolutely every world in which, in any world at all. Or you could have a stronger definition of rigid designator. This is just like a homework question. I mean, it's not really clear, it seems to me, which way to go in this. You could say I'm going to have a stronger definition. In every possible world, the name designates the same object, whether or not the object exists in that world. Yeah, isn't that weird? But suppose you consider an example like, if Hitler had never been born, the world would have been a better place. Okay? Well, if you want to consider that possibility, okay, I'm using the name here to specify the possible world. Yeah? So I use the name and I specify this world. This is the world in which it's true that Hitler was never born. Yeah? But if it's true in that world that Hitler was never born, then the name Hitler must be designating something relative to that world. Right? Well, no, it's not designating an absence, it's designating a person. He just happens not to be there in that world. Just think how you make sense of this. If Hitler had never been born, I'm referring to a particular person, Hitler, and I'm specifying this possibility, he was never born. So how should you say you load the name up into the proposition you're considering? So you load the object up, you load Hitler up into the proposition you're considering, and then you take it around the possible worlds, and you look at what's happening in each possible world, and in some of those Hitler is there, and in some of those he isn't. You see what I mean? But you seem to need to think about it in that way, because if you say if Hitler had never been born, well, I wouldn't have known who you were talking about. That doesn't seem like an answer. Yeah, it seems perfectly clear that it's true. Well, I mean, yeah, it seems perfect. There's nothing controversial about that. It seems perfectly clear that that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Very good, yes. Yes. It's very hard to know what to say about the unicorns in this kind of picture, because how does the term have meaning? In the actual world, there are no unicorns, yeah? So there's nothing to be causing the use of the term unicorn. So it must be descriptive, yeah? Or whatever has a horn, something that has a horn. Is that right? I'm not sure if that's right. It's hard to know how it's got meaning, the term unicorn. I mean, how does it have, how come I know what you're talking about when you say unicorn? Because there's nothing I'm causally connected to, yeah? You're referencing the concept, yeah. But that's not what you mean. The concept doesn't have a horn, right? You mean the unicorn's got a horn, not the concept of unicorn's got Right. Well, yeah, it's very hard to know how to I find it hard to know how to evaluate the kind of claim it's necessary that unicorns have horns. I mean, after all, if you take cows, bulls, something like I'm not very sure what that is. Moose, no, they have antlers. Rams have horns, right? Anyway, so rams have horns, that's true in this world, right? Is it necessarily true? Well, I guess not. I mean, after all, rams could have had horns bred out of them. It could have happened thousands of years ago. There could have been some genetic mutation a couple of thousand years ago, or tens of thousands of years ago, as a result of which rams never got horns. You can make sense of that. How does it go with unicorns? I mean, I don't know. I mean, how do you find out about the genetics of the unicorn? You see what I mean? It's very hard to know how to evaluate these statements about unicorns. And there's something, so the causal theory says it's hard to know how to interpret a statement about unicorns. The causal theory has difficulty interpreting statements about unicorns, but I actually suspect that you and I do too. You see what I mean? If you really pushed us on what we're talking about when we're talking about unicorns and what's true about unicorns and what's necessary, it's not that clear anyway, I think, yeah. Yep.
So, why think that individual names or words have meaning? I mean, when you say Hitler, you might be referring to the parliamentarians here, Germany.
That's the one, yes, that's right, yeah.
But I'm sure there are other people in Germany that unfortunately have that name. So you could be referring to somebody else. So it doesn't really seem like just a word has meaning. Don't you have to? Isn't meaning really just a property of statements that are a language as a whole?
Well, if you're going to talk about truth or falsity of individual statements, it's hard to see how meaning can be just a characteristic of the language as a whole, because then you couldn't talk about the truth or falsity of an individual statement. Yeah? So long as we are able to talk about a particular statement being true or false, then it does seem like we must be able to explain how the components of the statement are contributing to that truth or falsity. Yeah, that's that notion of semantic value. And the only way of explaining what a name is bringing to a statement being true or false is its reference. You could throw that out and say, I don't believe there's any such notion of truth. Yeah? We only evaluate the totality of statements made in a culture or something. That totality is right or wrong. But it's a really wild view, that. Yeah, I mean, people have held just about any possible view here. But it really is not commonsensical. You don't know what sense to make of inference in such a case, yeah? Because inference is taking from true statements to true statements, if it's correct, yeah? Okay. Okay, so you could say Hesperus is phosphorus is strongly necessary in that it's true in any world, whether or not Venus exists in that world. Right? Even in worlds in which Hesperus and phosphorus don't exist, it's still true that Hesperus is phosphorus. These are two different definitions of rigidity. In every possible world in which the object exists, the term designates that same object. And in every possible world in which, whatever, the term is still designating the same object, whether or not the object exists in that world. That's the point of the Hitler example. Okay, I think we'll leave it there for geeking out on rigidity and necessity. Okay, we will move on to Putnam on Friday. Okay, thanks for the discussion.